Hi, this is Dan Heisman for Chess FM, and this is the Improve Your Chess video series for ICC members. In today's video, we're going to see a 45-45 game. One of the key things to take note of at the start of the game is that Black's rated almost 400 points higher rated, and we should see how that affects the game, or at least how it seems to affect the play. All right, White opens up e4, Black plays the flexible modern defense, g6, and now almost all the time you see White play the obvious d4, following the classical rules of, you play e4 and d4 if your opponent doesn't stop you. Occasionally you see strong players playing knight f3, kind of asking Black if he wants to play the hyper-accelerated variation of the Sicilian. But White plays the very strange move knight c3. When I first started playing tournament chess, I played over about 2,000 annotated master games. There weren't a lot of games with modern defense, but there was a few, and I don't think I ever saw White play knight c3, and I haven't seen it much since either. It's not a bad move. It develops a piece. When I play against the modern defense, I usually like to move at least 3 of my central pawns, my c, d, e, f pawns, and I don't like to put knights in front of them so fast. It's just not very flexible. But it's not really a move to criticize. It's just a move to note as being a little unusual. Black, of course, plays bishop g7. And now you would expect White to play dog 4 again, d4. White plays knight f3. Okay, again, a little bit unusual. Again, Black, if he once again, could go into a Sicilian with c5. Black stays in a modern kind of system with d6. And now, of course, you'd expect White to play d4. And indeed, if he does, computers like classical systems better than they like hyper-modern type systems. And the computer says that White would have a nice little advantage if he plays d4. And this is the first move of the game we can kind of criticize. White plays d3. If you're going to play d3, that usually means you're going to play a King's Indian attack with g3 and bishop g2. But if you are, there's no need to bring out your queen knight first. Maybe later you want to put it on d2 instead of c3. So that's kind of passive to play d3. Maybe this is the first time we're noticing that White's 400 points lower rated. Maybe he's a little afraid of Black. We're not sure. Black plays knight c6. Of course, he could have played it more like a Sicilian with c5 and gone after better control of that d4 square. And now the computer says White's best move is d4. That shows you how important d4 was in the previous move, that even down a tempo, the computer says White should play it. And we might expect a master here to play g3 because he's already blocked his bishop with d3, and therefore playing g3 and bishop g2 and sort of playing it like a King's Indian setup makes sense. And White continues to play very passively with bishop to e2. And, White's playing it more like he's Black. And, of course, the worst thing that happens when White does stuff like that is usually he throws away his advantage and you get equality. And that's kind of what the computer says here, is that Black's already equalized. And Black plays e5. And now we have a position, since both d-pawns have moved up 1 and the e-pawns are up against each other, the break moves here are f4 and f5. But notice that Black does not have his knight in the way and White does. So theoretically, that's a little bit of an advantage for Black. And now we might expect Black to play f5 immediately, or maybe knight ge7 followed by castles in f5. Instead, Black plays the flexible but a little bit strange move. Oh, sorry, White plays h3 first. That I don't understand because bishop g4 is not a threat. There's no pin. And knight f6 followed by knight g4 to hit a bishop on e3 is not a threat. The knight's not there yet. And Black plays bishop e6, which is okay, but you'd expect Black to go right after some way of involving f5. And White tries to punish Black and plays knight to g5, which is a move I might have played too, because I'm going to get either one of two things. I'm going to get the bishop pair, or if he stops and moves the bishop, I get my break move in while my knight's not on that square. For instance, if Black plays the move he did in the game, bishop d7, White can play f4. And now if Black plays h6, I can put my knight on the other side of the break move. And notice that even though the pawn on h3 is weakening the dark